section 2.2, part C. And so we're looking at function notation. And the way that you read this, it's read like this, f of 2. Note that it's not f times 2, it means f of 2. And what it means is find the member of the range that is paired with 2. So 2 is the input, and you're looking for the output. When you plug 2 into this function, what comes out? So let's look at some examples. We've got example 6 here. I'll write down a couple of parts of example 6. So f of 5 for f of x equals 2, part A. Okay. So f of 5 means find the output for the input 5. And then this means, so this is f of x equals 3x plus 2. So what this means is take whatever number you plug in, whatever the input number is, multiply by 3 and add 2. So here we've got the input number is 5. So we're going to say f of 5 equals 3 times, and then instead of x, we've got 5 here. So you're going to replace x with 5. 3 times 5 plus 2. Then just do the multiplication and addition. You got 3 times 5 is 15 plus 2, that'll be 17. And that's it. So yeah, so that's part A. See, part B, g of negative 2, where g of r equals 5r squared plus 3r. So this is the same idea. It's a little bit more complicated, but you say, okay, this is the input, and then this is the instructions for what to do. So g of negative 2 for g of r equals 5 times r squared plus 3r. So whatever you put into the function, so whatever the input is, in this case it's negative 2, what you're going to do is square it, then multiply by 5, and then add triple of that number. So 3 times that number. So this is what we'll do. We'll go ahead and we'll say, okay, g of negative 2 equals 5 times, and then instead of r, we'll say negative 2. Negative 2 squared plus 3 times, and then instead of r, we'll put the input in here, negative 2. Okay? Okay. So now we'll go ahead and do this multiplication and addition. So negative 2 squared, that's 4. So we've got 5 times 4 plus 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. Okay? And then 5 times 4, that's 20. And then plus negative 6, that's the same thing as saying minus 6. So then 20 minus 6 is just 14. And there you have it. That's the answer to D. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and do part C. Okay, so we're looking at h of 4 when h of x equals 7. So we'll say, okay, so this is the input and this is the output. So we've got h of, and then our input is 4, h of 4, okay, equals, and then notice this is a little bit strange, right? We haven't seen this yet. There's no x here. So what that means is that this function is always 7. The output for this function is always 7. So we don't have to plug in this 4 anywhere, actually. It's just, the answer is just 7. because this, no matter what you, I mean, technically we're still plugging it in, so, but no matter what you plug in, this function is always 7 because there's no x, you know, it's not times x or plus x times 4 or something like that. So you just, so here's another example similar to part C. Say find f of 16 for f of x equals negative 31. Note, again, there's no x here. There's nothing to multiply this negative 31 by. There's nothing to add. So you just have f of 16 equals negative 31. So if you have questions on that, we can look more into that later as well. Hopefully that makes sense, but if not, no worries. We can get it figured out. Okay, now part D. F of a plus 1 for f of x equals 3x plus 2. Okay, so we've seen this, something very similar to this before, but what happens when you plug in a variable instead of a number, right? F of a plus 1, a could be anything. So it's a little bit different, but it's not too different. So you got f of a plus 1. Now instead of x here, instead of x, next multiplied by 3 here, we'll just put this entire thing in for x. So say, okay, f of a plus 1 equals 3 times, instead of x, it'll just be a plus 1 plus 2. Okay? And then we'll go ahead and distribute that 3. So you get 3a plus 3 plus 2. Okay? And then that gives you 3a plus, and then you can combine these two, 3a plus 5. Alrighty. Let's see, we've got one more. Again, if these don't click right away, just shoot me an email, ask in class. Make sure that you're understanding this because, well, I'm just recording this video, so I can't tell whether or not you're following with me. So, all right, f of a plus 1. Okay. So now this one's a little different. So you've got f of a, and then notice that the plus 1 is actually outside of the parentheses. So that's going to make a big difference when f of x. So f of x equals 3x plus 2. So this is f of a, all that, plus 1. So the only thing that you're going to plug in for x here is a. A little hard to read. So only whatever's in the parentheses is the input. Plus 1, that's not part of the input. You'll do that part afterwards. But whatever is in these parentheses here, that's the input. You'll replace x with that. So we'll say, okay, f of a plus 1 equals, well, you'll say, okay, f of x equals 3x plus 2. So if you replace x with a here, you'll get, okay, f of a equals 3a plus 2. So this part, 3a plus 2, corresponds to f of a. And then you have to add 1 here for that plus 1. Okay, so now you can combine this 2 and 1. So it'll be 3a plus, oh, and this is part E. Okay, let's do another example similar to part E. So say you've got you're looking for g of x plus 3 when g of r equals r squared plus 2r. Okay, so you'll replace r with x. Okay, so let's rewrite it. G of x plus 3 equals, first you got to find g of x. Well, g of r equals r squared plus 2r. So g of x is just going to be x squared plus 2x. Okay, so this corresponds to g of x, and then we have to add this 3, so plus 3. That corresponds to the plus 3. Okay, and then that's as simplified as you can get it, because there are no more like terms to combine here. So yeah, so those are some examples, and again, please make sure that you let me know if any of this is tricky for you after going to class and doing some of the homework. Yeah, just give me an email or ask in class if you have any questions. So yeah, thanks for watching.